Alright, everyone, welcome back. So as usual, I'm speaking session में छौँ. So tomorrow we'll be closing your listening section. Sorry, speaking भनेको listening section. Then we are done. है. So we'll start with part 2 है त. So हिजो हामीले एउटा dialogue गर्यो. अब this will be your monologue. Let's start it.
Part 2. You will hear a head teacher talking to parents of pupils about changes at the school. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15.
Okay, अब यो क्वेसन हेर्दाखेरि 11 to 15 छ हैन. मिनिस्टर पार्क भनेर छ. प्रब्ली एउटा कुनै पार्क या कुनै ठाउँ हो त्यो द्याट वी क्यान फिगर आउट हैन. त्यसै गरी डार्टफिल्ड हाउस स्कुल युज टु बी भनेर भनेको छ. युज टु बी भनेपछि पक्कै पनि देयर हेज बिन सम चेन्ज यो डार्टफिल्ड हाउसमा. पहिला इट वाज समथिङ एल्स, नाउ करेन्टली इट इज समथिङ एल्स. द्याट हेन्स द क्वेसन डार्टफिल्ड हाउस स्कुल युज टु बी भनेर भने हैन. ए अ टुरिस्ट इन्फर्मेसन सेन्टर, बी अ प्राइभेट होम, र सी अ लोकल काउन्सिल बिल्डिङ. सो वी हेभ टु बी लाइक वी हेभ टु फोकस अन हियरिङ है त. यो डार्टफिल्ड हाउस चाहिँ पहिला केही थियो अरे, अहिले चाहिँ केही भएको छ अरे. लेट्स लिसन टु इट.
Questions 11 to 15.
Good morning, and thank you for coming here today. I'd like to bring you up to date with changes in the school that will affect your children. As you know, the school buildings date from various times, some from the 1970s, some from the last 5 years, and of course Dartfield House is over a century old. It was commissioned by a businessman, Neville Richards, and intended as his family home, but he died before it was completed. His heir chose to sell it to the local council, who turned it into offices.
Okay. अब Dartfield House was a century old भन्यो भने definitely 100 years old house हो. अनि कसको भने फेरि सुनौँ है त.
School buildings date from various times, some from the 1970s, some from the last 5 years, and of course Dartfield House is over a century old.
100 years.
It was commissioned by a businessman, Neville Richards.
Okay, so Dartfield House was commissioned by a businessman, Neville. Let's say it again, full name.
Old. It was commissioned by a businessman, Neville Richards.
Okay, Neville Richard भन्ने businessmanले चाहिँ बनाउँछु भन्यो रे. के को लागि? The purpose for which Neville Richard wanted to like construct this Dartfield House was for private use भनेको private home आफ्नो लागि गर्छु भने रे. तर he died, unfortunately he died before that, so he couldn't see the house completion, so that house was sold to a local council building रे. That house was sold to a local council building भनेछ. Let's listen to this.
And intended as his family home, but he died before it was completed. His heir chose to sell it to the local council, who turned it into offices.
Okay. He therefore sold it to the local council. Private home बनाउन, personal home आफू बस्ने home बनाउन पाएन, and the local council used it for offices भन्यो नि. Answer यहाँ tourist information center को त्यहाँ कहीँ पनि mention छैन, so let's chalk that out. So B र C मा he sold it. The house was not completed. He died before that, so he sold the house to the local council. I sell गर्यो, then they used it for offices भनेपछि answer is C. Hey, okay. Now we'll go for 12.
A later plan to convert it into a tourist information centre didn't come about through lack of money, and instead it formed the nucleus of this school when it opened 40 years ago. The school has grown as the local population has increased, and I can now give you some news about the lower school site, which is separated from the main site by a road. Planning permission has been granted for development of both sites. The lower school will move to new buildings that will be constructed on the main site. Developers will construct houses on the existing lower school site. Work on the new school buildings should start within the next few months.
Okay. Question number 12 was, what is planned with regard to the lower school? Let us go to the sequence of what happened. Neville Richard sold his home to local council building. He died before the completion, or he died before he could make it his private home, so he sold it to the local council building. The local council building used it as for offices. त्यसपछि चाहिँ अर्को सिक्वेन्समा चाहिँ प्रब्ली त्यहीँभित्रको एउटा कुनै स्कुलको घरको कुरा गरेछ. वाट इज प्लान विथ रिगार्ड टु द लोवर स्कुल भनेछ. अब लोवर स्कुलको केसमा के भनेछ भने लोवर स्कुलको चाहिँ साइट्समा चाहिँ दे विल बी क्रिएटिङ न्यू होम्स, बोथ साइडमा दे विल बी क्रिएटिङ न्यू होम्स भनेछ है. सो एन्सर इज बी डेफिनेटली. नाउ लेट्स फाइन्ड आउट वाइ द एन्सर इज बी है त. अलिकति अगाडि जाउँ.
At the lower school site, which is separated from the main site by a road. Planning permission has been granted for development of both sites. The lower school will move to new buildings that will be constructed on the main site. Developers will construct houses on the existing lower school.
Okay, developers will be constructing houses in the site of the lower school. भनेपछि answer is definitely B. So it's B. Okay, now let's go for 13 है त. 13 को क्वेसन चाहिँ द केटरिङ हेज बिन चेन्ज्ड बिकज भनेर भनेको छ. अब स्कुलको कुरा गरेर स्कुलमा केटरिङ भनेर प्रब्ली क्यान्टिन केही भन्न खोजे, राइट? दे आर प्रब्ली रिफरिङ टु अ क्यान्टिन और समथिङ. द केटरिङ हेज बिन चेन्ज बिकज अफ ए लङ क्युइङ टाइम्स, बी चेन्जेस टु द स्कुल टाइम टेबल, र सी डिससेटिस्फ्याक्सन विथ द मेन्युज. द केटरिङ हेज बिन चेन्ज भनेको probably this means they have changed someone, they have changed the management of the catering or for canteen. The reason being long queuing times भनेको धेरै मान्छेको भिड भयो, they are serving slow, so that's why the management has to change. B, changes to the school timetable. As the school has changed its routine, the students routine have been changed and new timings are there, so the children will be given food at the new timing table. Changes to the school timetable. Yeah, dissatisfaction with the menus भनेको अब currently old menu सँग चाहिँ no one is happy, it didn't taste good, so people wanted to change the management, change the new canteen or catering. Right, let's go.
Site. Work on the new school buildings should start within the next few months. A more imminent change concerns the catering facilities and the canteen. The canteen is always very busy throughout the lunch period. In fact, it's often full to capacity because a lot of our pupils like the food that's on offer there. But there's only one serving point, so most pupils have to wait a considerable time to be served. This is obviously unsatisfactory, as they may have hardly finished their lunch before afternoon lessons start. So, we've had a new food hall built, and this will come into use next week. It'll have several serving areas, and I'll give you more details about those in a minute.
Okay. The catering has been changed भने हामीले तीनटा रिजन डिस्कस गरे, त्यो मध्ये एउटा हो हैन. सो चेन्ज टु स्कुल टाइम टेबल कहीँ पनि मेन्सन गरेन. डिससेटिस्फ्याक्सनको मेन्सन गरेछ, बट द डिससेटिस्फ्याक्सन द स्पिकर मेन्सन इज नट इन रिगार्ड्स टु द मेन्युज अफ द फुड है. त्यो स्टार्टिङमा के भन्यो भने सर्भिङ पोइन्ट एउटा थियो, क्यू धेरै हुने हो, मान्छेहरूको लाइन हुने भयो र लेट हुने भयो, खाना चिसो हुने भयो. दे विल बी लट अफ इम्प्लिकेसन्स हैन, नेगेटिभ इम्प्लिकेसन्स ड्यू टु वेटिङ. पिपल हेभ टु वेट फर अ लङ टाइम, सो दे वर डिससेटिस्फाइड नट विथ द मेन्युज बट डिससेटिस्फाइड ड्यू टु द वेटिङ पार्ट हैन. सो द एन्सर इज 13. द केटरिङ हेज बिन चेन्ज बिकज अफ 13 को चाहिँ इट्स ए, दे हेभ टु वेट. ओके, नाउ लेट्स गो फर त्यस्तै गरी 14 है त.
But one thing we ask you to do to help in the smooth running of the food hall is to discuss with your children each morning which type of food they want to eat that day, so they can go straight to the relevant serving point. There won't be any junk food, everything on offer will be healthy, and there's no change to the current system of paying for lunches by topping up your child's electronic payment card online.
Okay. Question number 14 asks you, parents are asked to help the children to decide in advance which serving point to use. Make sure their children have enough money for food. Advise their children on healthy food to eat. So definitely the C option, every parents will advise their children to eat healthy. So B, make sure the children have enough money for food. I don't know. Let's hear it again.
Straight to the relevant serving point.
Okay.
Into use next week. It'll have several serving areas, and I'll give you more details about those in a minute. But one thing we ask you to do to help in the smooth running of the food hall is to discuss with your children each morning which type of food they want to eat that day, so they can go straight to the relevant serving point.
Okay, the answer is A. Help the children to decide in advance which serving point to use. So the school is requested the parents that the parents should ask their children what kind of food do they like, what kind of food do they want to eat for that current day, so that the people will not be wasting their time, and they can directly go to the serving point they want to have the food, right? They choose the food, they go to that particular serving point which is serving the food they want to eat. भनेपछि help the children to decide in advance which serving point to use. भनेपछि 14 को answer is A. Alright, now let's go for 15.
There won't be any junk food. Everything on offer will be healthy. And there's no change to the current system of paying for lunches by topping up your child's electronic payment card online. You may be wondering what will happen to the old canteen. We'll still have tables and chairs in there, and pupils can eat food from the food hall or lunch they've brought from home. Eventually, we may use part of the canteen for storage, but first, we'll see how many pupils go in there at lunchtime.
Okay. Question number 15 asks you to answer the question, what does the speaker say about the existing canteen? Now we know that there will be two canteens किनभने first canteen मा चाहिँ queuing line धेरै भएर people were dissatisfied, right? Students were dissatisfied, there were lots of queues, so they had to wait for a long time. So the school management decided to make another canteen. So definitely the old canteen still exists there. So what does the speaker say about the existing canteen? So what will the role of the existing canteen be that is already there? And we are talking about the old one, not the new one. So option A is food will still be served there. B, only staff will have access to it. And C, people can take their food into it. अब के भन्यो भने some part of the existing canteen भनेको पुरानो canteen would be used for storage रे अब there could be any inventory for things, but that is not mentioned further in the audio हैन. तर के भनेको छ भने students can take their food there हैन. यहाँ सर्भिङ पोइन्टबाट यो माथिको एन्सर गर्दा जुन सर्भिङ पोइन्ट छ नयाँ त्यहाँबाट फुड या if students bring their own food they can take it to the existing canteen and eat it there. So the existing canteen will still be used by students for eating purpose, and later, and mind you later अहिले नै हैन, they haven't started that, later they are planning to use some areas of the existing canteen or the old canteen for storage. So for 15 your answer will be C. Alright, now let's go for 16.
Before you hear the rest of the talk,
all have side dishes.
15 to 20.
16 मा they have asked you हैन. अब के छ 16 मा भने okay, choose 3 answers for box where pupils help to plan menu, comments, food available. Okay, 16, 17, 18 मा choose 3 answers from the boxes and write, choose 3 answers from the boxes and write the A to D to 16 to 18 भनेको अब यो matching गर्ने question, right? We have to match this है त. Let's hear it.
Okay, back to the serving points in the food hall, which will all have side dishes, desserts and drinks on sale, as well as main courses. One serving point we call World Adventures. This will serve a different country's cuisine each day. Maybe Chinese one day and Lebanese the next.
Okay, so 16 सा म्याच गर्ने वर्ल्ड एडभेन्चर्स भनेर एउटा सर्भिङ पोइन्ट छ रे फुड दिने ठाउँ. त्यहाँ चाहिँ दे विल सर्भिङ डिफ्रेन्ट कन्ट्रिज को फुड भन्यो भने पिपल प्लान मेनुज हैन, ओन्ली भेजिटेरियन फुड हैन, डिफ्रेन्ट फुड एभ्री विक हैन, त्यहाँ त डिफ्रेन्ट फुड एभ्री डे भनेको छ भने डेली चेन्ज इन द मेन्यु है त. सो यसको एन्सर इज डी. अब लेट्स हियर इट फर 17 है त.
Menus will be planned for a week at a time, so pupils will know what's going to be available the whole of that week. Street life is also international, with food from 3 particular cultures. We'll ask pupils to make suggestions, so perhaps sometimes there'll be food from Thailand, Ethiopia.
ओके स्ट्रिट लाइफ भनेको आउटलेट या सर्भिङ पोइन्टमा चाहिँ एन्सर पहिले आइसकेछ किन वी विल आस्क स्टुडेन्ट्स फर द सजेसन भनेर पिपल हेल्प टु प्लान मेनुज भन्ने एउटै हो सो इट्स ए है वी आर नट वेस्टिङ टाइम किनभने हामीसँग धेरै टाइम हुन्न सो एन्सर पाउने बित्तिकै विल नट लिसन टु द अनवान्टेड
Here and Mexico. And then one of them will be replaced by Jamaican food for a week or two. The Speedy Italian serving point will cater particularly for the many pupils who don't eat meat or...
ओके स्पिड इटालियन भनेको अब हु डोन्ट इट मिट भन्नु र ओन्ली भेजिटेरियन फुड भन्नु एउटै होइन त सो इट्स बी सो गाइज वी डिड दिस टिल 18 सो thank you very much you know what to do if you want to be part of this call the given number and be a part